Today, we're building a different kind of blueprint. Not for a skyscraper, not for a bridge, but for your own professional excellence. We're going to dig into James Clear's Atomic Habits and translate its powerful ideas specifically for the high-stakes world of civil engineering, architecture, and construction. This isn't just theory, okay? This is a practical guide to re-engineering your own performance from the inside out. So let's start with a question. Just think about your last project for a second. Do those tiny, almost invisible errors still pop up? You know, a mislabeled reference in a CAD file, a forgotten check on rebar placement, stuff like that. Individually, they seem like nothing, right? But put them all together and they create this cascade of RFIs and rework, costing you not just money, but the one thing you can never ever get back: time. And hey, if you're an architect or an engineer, think about your own workflow. You design these brilliantly efficient, sustainable buildings, but is your personal process just as efficient? Where you may be still relying on some old, clunky procedures just because, well, that's how we've always done it? The cost of that inefficiency is hidden, but it's very real. It's the burnout, the late nights, the creative energy just drained by friction. And one last thought experiment for you. If I told you there was one small change, one tiny thing you could do every day that could guarantee a significant speed up in your project delivery in just 6 months, would you know exactly what that change is? If the answer doesn't immediately jump to mind, then you are in exactly the right place, because the solution isn't some fancy new software. It's buried in your daily habits. And this all leads to the core idea from James Clear's work, and it's so simple it's profound. Your habits determine your outcomes. In our world, a world defined by these massive, long-term projects, we always focus on the big milestones. But the final quality of that skyscraper isn't determined by one heroic last-minute push. No way. It's the result of 10,000 tiny, automatic decisions made every single day, on the job site, at the drafting table, in the meeting. So, how do we get a handle on those 10,000 decisions? Well, the foundational concept here, the big idea that makes this whole system work, is to stop focusing on the results you want and start focusing on the person you want to become. It's a huge shift from thinking about what you do to defining who you are. And what's so cool about this slide is how it makes that idea really clear. See, the old way is all about results. You say, I have to reduce site accidents. It feels like a chore, right? But the new, identity-focused way is an internal belief. I am a safety champion. See the difference there? One is a task. The other is who you are. Your actions just naturally flow from that identity. An efficient project manager doesn't just want to finish a project on time. They are an efficient person, and every choice they make is basically a vote for that identity. So the key is you gotta decide who you wanna be first. Now, to build that identity, we have to understand how our habits actually work. And it turns out, every single habit you have follows this exact same 4-step loop in your brain. It starts with a cue, that's the trigger. That leads to a craving, the motivation. Then comes the response, which is the habit itself. And finally, the reward, which tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's remember this loop for next time. If you want to change your behavior, all you have to do is learn how to pull these 4 levers. All right, let's grab the first lever. This is law number 1. Make it obvious. Your brain is a pattern-matching machine, and it's designed to save energy. For professionals like us, who make thousands of tiny decisions a day, saving that mental energy is absolutely critical. So to build a good habit, you have to make the trigger for it totally, completely impossible to miss. A super smart way to do this is called habit stacking. You just link your new habit to a habit you already do on autopilot. The formula is simple. After I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. So for a construction manager, it could be, after my 7 a.m. site check-in, which you do without even thinking, I will immediately review the critical equipment log. Or for an engineer, after I finish my daily site report, I will spend just 2 minutes looking at the geotech survey for the next phase. You're literally piggybacking the new habit onto an existing pathway in your brain. It makes it almost effortless. And here's another great technique for this. It's called pointing and calling. It was perfected by the Japanese railway system to slash their error rates. You just take an unconscious action and you make it conscious by saying it out loud. So for an architect, before you hit save on a complex BIM model with a dozen linked files, you don't just click. You actually pause and say, I am saving the file, all external references are updated and conflict-free. That simple act forces a moment of awareness that can save you countless hours of rework down the line. Okay, so we've made the habit obvious, but how do we actually get ourselves to want to do it, especially when it's kind of boring or difficult? Well, that brings us to law number 2, make it attractive. Our brains run on dopamine. And what's interesting is that dopamine isn't just released when you get a reward, it's released in anticipation of a reward. So the more attractive we make a habit, the more we're going to be motivated to do it. The best way to engineer this is with something called temptation bundling. You just pair something you need to do with something you really want to do. So let's say you're an architect and you're facing hours of tedious but essential drafting work. The rule becomes, I only get to listen to my favorite design podcast while I'm cleaning up these drawing sets. You bundle the immediate pleasure of the podcast with the necessary work. Your brain actually starts to look forward to that boring task. But you know what's an even more powerful motivator? Our desire to belong. We naturally imitate the habits of the groups we want to be a part of. So a really smart project manager doesn't just send out a memo about a new protocol. No, they frame it as a shared identity. We are the elite structural team known for zero material waste. All of a sudden, following that protocol isn't about just following rules. It's about living up to the standards of the elite group you belong to. It makes it attractive. Okay, on to law number 3, and this one is just fundamental human nature. Make it easy. Your brain is wired to conserve energy. It will always drift toward the path of least resistance. And this isn't about being lazy, by the way, it's about being efficient. So the more friction a habit has, the less likely you are to do it. Our job is to become masters at reducing that friction for our good habits. This is where the 2-minute rule is an absolute game changer. Any new habit can feel really big and intimidating. The idea of mastering the new building code, for example, just feels huge. The 2-minute rule says you should scale down any new habit so it takes less than 2 minutes to start. So your habit isn't master the code. Your habit is, I will open the document and read the first 2 pages. That's it. Anyone can do that. You're just mastering the art of showing up. The rest will follow. And what's really interesting here is that you can use friction as a tool in both directions. To build good habit, like using a specific project template, you reduce the friction. You create a desktop shortcut that opens it directly. Fewer clicks, less thought. But to break a bad habit, like people misusing site tablets, you increase the friction. You implement a clunky multi-step login. You strategically make the bad habit more of a pain than the good one. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important law of all. Make it satisfying. Here's the thing. Your brain is wired for immediate gratification. It values a small reward now way more than a big reward later. And that's a huge problem in our profession, right? The reward for meticulous documentation comes months later. The reward for a brilliant structural design comes years later when the building opens. We need to find a way to get an immediate win. One of the best ways to create that immediate reward is to track your progress visually. Just picture this, a huge scoreboard on the construction site, tracking the number of days of 100% adherence to concrete slump tests. Just seeing that bar get taller every single week is a powerful, immediate dose of satisfaction. For an architectural team, it could be a simple chart on the wall tracking how many deadlines you've met ahead of schedule. It's a visual pat on the back that makes you want to keep that streak going. Now, for those absolutely critical habits, the ones where failure just isn't an option, you can raise the stakes with a habit contract. This makes the cost of skipping the habit immediate and, well, painful. First, you write down the rules. Second, you get an accountability partner. And third, you define a negative consequence. For instance, if I fail to document my design changes in the model by 5 p.m. every day, I have to put $50 into the team's bad habit fund. The pain of losing that money and losing face is an incredibly powerful motivator. So you've used the 4 laws to build these great habits. How do you keep the momentum going for the long haul? That's where the Goldilocks rule comes in. To stay motivated, you have to work on challenges that are right on the edge of your abilities. Not so easy that you get bored, but not so hard that you get discouraged. You know, just right. For engineers and architects, this means always looking for that next project that stretches your skills just a little bit, making sure you never, ever stop growing. So we've gone through the entire blueprint, from shifting your identity to the 4 laws of behavior change all the way to mastery. But now the real work begins, and the final question is for you. Based on everything we just talked about, what is the one single 2-minute habit you are going to start tomorrow to cast a vote for your new professional identity? Is it reading those first 2 pages? Is it saying your file save out loud? Define it right now, because mastery isn't an act, it's a habit.